Doesn't it drive you crazy when people say, oh, it's easy to live below your means, just spend less than you make? Well, of course, that's how you do it. But it's not always easy for busy families. And when you have a lot of kids and you got the house and the car, there's only so much you can do sometimes to feel like you can live below your means. So today we're going to cover the two main ways I see families struggle with living below their means and then how to solve those problems. Then I'm also going to go over my number one rule so that as your income grows, you can continue to live below your means while spending more, but also saving more. All that's coming right up for you. Hi, I'm Rob Bertman, founder of Family Budget Expert, and I help families save more, argue less, and keep the fun. And we do this through one-on-one coaching, through online courses, through professional speaking, and free content just like this. So I know you're probably wondering, I've been struggling to live below my means. So how do we make this happen? Especially when you've got the kids, you've got the house, you've got the car. What levers can you actually pull to make sure you can continue to live below your means? So first, let's cover why it's important to do so. Now, you're probably thinking the financial reason. Well, yeah, I want to reach my financial goals. We want to become financially independent, want to retire at some point. So of course, in order to do that, we need to live below our means so we have more to save and invest and pay off debt with. Well, that is entirely true, but there's another reason why it's important. And I see this all the time in my clients, is that when families are spending about what they make, even as their income grows, they tend to be pretty stressed out. Maybe you've been in that situation, or maybe you're in that situation now where it's like, I feel like we're earning a decent living, but for some reason, we just can't seem to save more. Then you get that promotion, you get that job with more responsibility, all of a sudden you have to spend more time and energy at work, and you feel like you're just spinning your wheels and you never know when that end is going to come because your expenses always seem to ramp up in line with your income. So we want to solve this problem because not only will it help you reach your financial goals, but it'll also make the journey better for you. And it'll make it feel like, yeah, you can actually like work hard for a period of time knowing that there's an end in sight when you reach a certain point. All that comes from having that cushion between what you make and what you're spending. So really there are two ways that I see families having trouble living below their means. The first one is due to high fixed expenses. So when I say high fixed expenses, I mean those levers that if you pulled them to try to spend less money, you'd kind of be disrupting your life. You know, selling your house, selling your car, pulling your kids out of school, things like that, right? Those are really hard levers to pull. But when we're making decisions like that, home improvement projects, whether to buy a new car, these are big ticket items that can really make it so that it's hard to live below our means if we take on too big of a debt payment or if the expenses get out of hand. So I have this rule called the 125% rule that can help you solve this problem. And the idea is that whenever you're making a major financial purchase or a major financial decision, you not only look at the actual amount that you're going to be spending on that, you actually have to add 25% more to that amount you're going to spend and see if you can still afford it. Because ultimately, as you know, things go way, way more expensive than we think they will, right? Whether it's buying a house and you got to do some maintenance or improvement projects, or you get a car and it needs to be fixed or you need the maintenance on that. Or you enter into a home improvement project and inevitably it goes over time and over budget. So this 125% rule kind of builds that buffer in case something goes wrong, which they obviously almost always do with these kind of things, that we've built in that buffer. So for example, if you're looking to buy a new house and you're looking at a mortgage payment maybe in the $2,000 a month range or something like that, right? Well, maybe $2,000 a month seems affordable to you. But if you use this 125% rule, we would want to add another $500. So yeah, $2,000 a month, totally do that. What about $2,500 a month? Well, if $2,500 a month seems like a stretch, then you probably shouldn't even go with a $2,000 decision. Because houses are more expensive than we think. It's not just about the mortgage, it's the taxes, it's insurance, it's the upkeep, it's the HVAC system, it's the roof, it's the appliances. All this extra cost goes into owning a house versus renting. So when you're buying a house, you need to build that buffer into your monthly expenditures. All right, now if you're buying a big ticket item, you could use the 125% rule, but another rule I like to use is, what if we had to pay for this in cash? We're so used to paying monthly payments for, furniture, for cars. Obviously, most people have a mortgage, which is a monthly payment too. But what I like to do with that is say, if I could pay for this in cash right now, would I really buy that? So if you're looking to buy a car, and let's just say you're trying to decide between a $25,000 car and a $35,000 car. Now, at the dealership, they're going to tell you that the payment is only going to be an extra $100 a month, right? Doesn't seem like a lot, so you kind of sometimes go with a nicer car because, hey, it's only an extra $100 a month, right? But when you use this paying for cash type of mindset, it really helps change the perspective on it. So then you ask yourself, what if I had the cash today? This is the key question to ask. If I had the cash today, would I spend $25,000 on the car? Or would I spend $35,000 on this other nicer car? So another way to frame it is, would I spend $25,000 on this car and have an extra $10,000 to put into something else, one of my other goals, like paying down debt, a nice vacation, or like 3 vacations, or 1 trip to Disney? What would I do with that extra $10,000 if I were to make a choice between these 2 cars? So you can use this technique when you're making major purchases of, if you had to pay for it in cash, there was no monthly payment option, would you still do it? So these things between the 125% rule and looking at it in cash will help you when you're making those big ticket items still continue to live below your means with those decisions. Now there's the other side of the coin, which is the day-to-day spending, right? A lot of times people overspend because there's just so many different things happening throughout the day, especially if you've got kids like we do. There's always some sort of transaction. There's the grocery store trips. There's, buying the apps online. There's the streaming services, things like that, right? So the idea here is that this is actually one of the most simple techniques you can use to make sure that you can live below your means. So because the day-to-day transactions are not adding up to bring your spending right up to what you're making. And it's super simple. Rather than budgeting a dollar amount, you budget how often you're going to spend. So for families with 4 people in them or more, I usually recommend, sort of a 5 times a day limit. So you get your morning coffee, that's 1 if you go out and pay for it somewhere. Or, fill up the car with gas, that's 2. Grocery shopping, that's 3. Some online shopping, that's 4. And then, maybe you go out to lunch, that's 5. Well, if you hit that 5 transactions month, or if you hit that 5 transactions for the day, that means that you're going to be making dinner at home that night, okay? On the other side, if you know you're going to want to order in because things are kind of crazy or shuffling the kids around, then you're going to want to budget to spend 1 less time during the day because so you can order in that dinner for the busy night, right? Or pick up fast food on the way to schlepping the kids around and all that. So if it's the little things adding up over time that is getting in the way of you living below your means, just start budgeting how often you spend. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Instead of $10.13, $56.29 and things like that, that's much harder to maintain. So a lot of times families will have trouble living below their means if they're in the 5 or more transactions a day. So if they were to look over the course of the month, they'd have somewhere between 150 or maybe 250 transactions to look through. So we can cut down those day-to-day transactions by just budgeting the number. Okay? So living below your means on the big ticket purchases, use the 125% rule or the assume you're paying for cash rule. And then on the day-to-day stuff, budget how often you're spending rather than how much you're spending. These will definitely help you live below your means. Now, before we get going here, I do want to give you one amazing rule that's worked well for me and my family and my clients that as we make more money over time, helps us make sure that we're not just kind of spending right up. So, the ceiling is rising and then we're kind of keep growing taller with our expenses there, right? And the way to do that, I call this the 50-50 rule. So whenever you come into new money, whether it's a raise, a bonus, a tax refund, a lot of times we want to go all the way to saving or all the way to spending, And usually if you're financially attached to somebody, right, financially partners with somebody, spouse, partner, whatever, usually you might fall on different ends of the spectrum. One of you might want to spend it all and the other one might want to save or invest or pay back debt with it all. Now, both of those are actually pretty valid. And with the 50-50 rule, you can accommodate both. So let's just say you get a really awesome raise and you're taking home an extra $1,000 a month. Well, the 50-50 rule would say, okay, let's take at least $500 of that and let's add it to our financial goals. So whatever we're working on now, saving, investing, paying back debt. Let's say we got $1,000 a month going to that stuff. Now we've got an extra $1,000 of take-home pay. Well, now we're going to take 500 of that extra take-home pay, add it to the 1,000 we're saving, so we go from 1,000 to 1,500 a month going towards those goals. And then on the spending side, let's say you're spending $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month. Well, now you can take the other 500 and increase your spending by 500 too. So if you're spending $8,000 a month, you can now spend $8,500 a month because you're saving $1,000. You were saving $1,000. Now you're saving $1,500. And if you do this over time, over the course of a career, let's just say over time you pull in an extra $5,000 a month over time. Well, now you're saving, $3,500 a month, which is fantastic, and you're also spending above that $10,000 a month range. So the 50-50 rule applies to as you make more money, but also if you get a tax refund, let's say you get a tax refund of $3,000, $1,500 of that goes to your financial goals, $1,500 of that goes to your spending goals or whatever you want to get out of that with your lifestyle. So this 50-50 rule helps bridge the gap, minimize arguments. It's not sort of an all hot or all cold kind of a thing. It's a middle ground that works for many, many families. So, and also what it'll do is as you make more money, you don't want to be the case where you're making a good living and you're thinking, oh my gosh, how are we ever going to get out of this? The 50-50 rule will help you if you use it as you make more money. So hopefully these tips, I know they help my clients, so I know they'll help you tactically help you live below your means. Use 125% rule. Think about what it would be like if you paid cash for those big ticket expenses. Start counting your daily transactions and use the 50-50 rule as you make more money so you can spend more and save more, taking advantage of that great career you're investing in, that great business you're investing in to live a better life, the lifestyle that you want, while also really bolstering your financial future as well. So I'd love to hear what you think. Leave comments below. If you're looking for help to try to get a jump start to building your savings rate to live below your means, got plenty of help options for you between courses, professional speaking, working one-on-one. So if you go to familybudgetexpert.com/help, you'll see all the options we can work together because I really want to see you do this because I know it's going to benefit you not only financially, but in terms of your relationships within your family, with your spouse, partner, with your kids. It all is intertwined together. That's why Family Budget Expert, we want to help people not only save more, but we want them to argue less while keeping the fun. I look forward to hearing from you. We'll talk to you soon.